If everyone could please take your seats, we have a long meeting ahead of us. We call this meeting to order. Now that we've all sat down, if we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing afterwards, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing. Many of you have heard down in Fort Myers Beach we had a major loss in the tourism industry recently. Mr. C, who is the founder of Vilani Kai, passed away. We'd like to ask for a moment of silence in his honor. Thank you. You could be seated and call the roll. Holly, say hey.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yes, I am here. Thank you.
I could barely hear him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Present.
Here.
Morning.
Morning.
Here. Here. Here.
Great, thank you. I'd now like to recognize Crystal Wenke for the presentation of the Guest First certificates.
Good morning, Council. My name is Crystal Wonke. I am the Customer Service Trainer for the Guest First program, and it is an honor for me to be here today to recognize the individuals who have recently completed the Guest First program and have earned their certified designated Guest First professional designation. Our partnership, this program would not be possible without our partnership with the American Hotel Lodging Education Institute. Together, we strive to raise the level of service provided to visitors here in Lee County that keep them having those memorable experiences and keep them coming back year after year. I would like to invite Vice Chair Jay Johnson up to present the Certified Property Designation plaque to a few individuals. The number of properties who have certified their entire team of frontline employees has increased to 17. I would like to invite, here's a quick snapshot of the VCB team who has recently earned their certified property designation. Tamara, please join us at the front. Thank you. The entire VCB team has earned their certified designation.
Better than VC.
Our next plaque will be presented to Ana Acevedo, Public Utilities Supervisor with Lee County Solid Waste. Ana, please join us at the front. In addition to that great news, with our recent fall cohort, we now have 1,174 individuals who have completed the Guest First program. Here's a quick little snapshot of the cohort from our fall season. As I call your name, please come up to accept your PIN as well as your certificate. Alice Arevalo. Natalie Duran. Angela Mitchell. And Herb Taylor. Congratulations to all of our graduates, CGSPs, and their supporters. Please join us into the next room for refreshments. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're on to our next item. I'm now looking for a motion to approve the January 16th, 2025 TDC meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Looking for a second. I think I saw Tony's hand move. Thank you. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Public to be heard. John Lai, you're recognized.
Good morning, council members. John Lai for the record, President and CEO of Sanibel Captiva Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to follow up on a promise I made last month to treat each and every one of you to the New York Times bestseller, Tales of an Island Innkeeper from our very own Tony Loppe. And Vanna, would you mind handing those out to the council? Wonderful. Be an informal book signing afterwards. Pictures cost money, but signatures will be free. But wanted to first of all just once again thank you, Tony, for sharing your stories and for being the leader that you've been on our island for as long as you've been. Also, while I'm up here, I would be remiss if I didn't take a second and just let everyone know that the Tourism Day is coming up on March 26th. It's a great time in Tallahassee, and said no one ever, but I certainly hope to see you all up there. That's our time to advocate for our community, advocate for our industries, and advocate for Dana Young retired last Friday, and we've appointed as a board of Visit Florida in her place as an interim basis the COO of Visit Florida, which is Craig Thomas. He will be filling in until a permanent CEO is named. So excited about that. If you have the time to come on up to Tallahassee for Tourism Day, get a chance to meet Craig, and really hopefully at that point we'll have someone named. My fellow board member Rob Wells over here, we're waiting for you to step up and name someone, so we just get on that. And then lastly, wanted to mention that we are really excited. We've hit the 45% mark on Sanibel and Captiva combined with pre and inventory. I know that the numbers differ from Chamber to TDC. We do combine Sanibel and Captiva, and I know they break it out. But just as of this morning, I got a call from Sundial that 22 more rooms have been added, so they're up to 98 rooms. And then we've got Jensen's coming back online this Friday. That's tomorrow, Valentine's Day. Remind me of that. But really, really excited. And I know also in public to be heard, and if next we can do that, Sean Niesel with Shalimar Beach Resort is also in the crowd and would love to give a quick update on his property. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John. The floor is yours, sir.
Hi there, my name is Sean Niesel. This is my first TDC meeting. I guess I'm just here to introduce myself and kind of give a real quick brief explanation. So Shalimar Cottages and Motel was a family business on West Gulf Drive on Sanibel Island. We're a 4-acre property. Hurricane Ian completely washed us away. And since we've been working with the City of Sanibel and Stevens Construction to rebuild our 33 units on the island. So we're super excited. Things are looking good. We're potentially have an opening probably October of this year. So it was about 18 months of construction if everything, God willing, goes well. So we're just excited to be here and get involved in the community and see where we can also serve and be of help. And we want to get, obviously, some hotel rooms back online. So hopefully 33 come in later this year. Thank you.
Chair, I really want to congratulate Sean and his family. It was a huge commitment they made. They are the first ground up build on our island. And soon after the storm, they made that commitment. We're going to stay here. I remember the day I came on the island was the Friday after the storm, and I could only get to where all of your cottages were in the middle of the road. and it was heartbreaking. But they made that commitment early. They have, it's a huge financial commitment. It is going to be an amazing project, and I'm so very proud of this young man because I know he and his children and his grandchildren's grandchildren will be enjoying this as we all will for decades to come. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Additional public to be heard, sir?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Verrill. I am the new executive director at Florida Repertory Theater. I've only been here in Fort Myers in Southwest Florida for 4 months. Got here just in time for the last hurricane. Yay. And while I am new to Southwest Florida, I am not new to theater. I've been managing theaters for a couple of decades, most recently in Flagstaff, Arizona, where our theater was a historic theater in a historic downtown. Sound familiar? So we worked very closely with the CVB to help drive tourists to Flagstaff, and once they were in Flagstaff, to get them to stay longer. So we look forward to doing a better job of helping the CVB staff here do the same thing in Southwest Florida. I just wanted to come say. And lastly, in Flagstaff, I was a member of the Tourism Commission. So I'm right at home. Good to see you all.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome. Any other public to be heard? Hearing none, moving on to municipalities to be heard. Holly.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I apologize that I might not be here. I have got to go to an appointment down in Naples. So I wanted to just put out a couple of items that the municipality, City of Sanibel asked me to just chat about, to see if there's some feedback or just to get this on the record. A couple of asks we're potentially talking about here. I know I've spoke to Tim about this. I know John Lai has been in the conversations as well in regards to our 50th anniversary. Which we are going to be celebrating in November. We are looking at the Guinness World Book of Records, and we are looking at different options. It's not going to be a celebration, which was Fort Myers Beach, and we want that record to be upheld forever. But it is going to be another one, and we are going to be looking. We know how successful that was back in 2017. I was part of that, what it brought to that community, and we are looking for the same opportunity through TDC to bring that opportunity to Sanibel to celebrate basically the culmination of our 50th anniversary, the opening, and by November, we are going to be much more fully open than we are right now. So I am going to put the request in. I know there has been conversation with Commissioner Ruane as the TDC chair, so more to follow, and we will get that in writing. The other item that we were looking at, as we're looking at 4th of July, we understand, as I look at this agenda item, the Sanibel Causeway Islands improvements, it looks like the Causeway Islands are supposed to be open by the 4th of July, if I'm not mistaken. We'll have to get more detail on that to make sure. That is Lee County's biggest beach. And for the 4th of July, that's a celebration that people, if you're ever in that area, you know how they get up early, they get their spots, and they celebrate. So we might be looking to say if we could have a collaboration with our fireworks and possibly with Fort Myers Beach, if that is a request as well, because we need that help. Fort Myers Beach does, the City of Sanibel does, and we have been that golden goose for many years. We might not be right now, but we will be again. So I look at the reserves that we have, and we will likely be coming forward to ask for that request, not out of the marketing money, that's a separate item, but looking for that request to help celebrate our islands and get them back and going, because I think there is a lack of confidence right now, and we've got to make sure that confidence comes back, and our beaches are a priority to make that happen. So thank you, Mr. Chair. We will put that in writing as well.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Any other municipalities to be heard? Nothing from the Cape? Wow.
Well, we've got an emergency. Our
Okay.
presenter had a family emergency this morning, so we apologize.
I always look forward to the Cape, and I look forward to seeing it next month.
A lot going on.
If no more municipalities to be heard, we're on to a special presentation from the Fort Myers Beach Chamber update. Jackie?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jackie Lezak, for the record. I'm the president and CEO of the Fort Myers Beach Chamber of Commerce, and thank you for having me this morning. We're thrilled to be here. We have had quite a year in 2024, and of course kicking off 2025. So what we did, talking a little bit about the TDC funds that we received, we are going to go ahead and start with our Q3 of 2024, then I'll come back again to you guys and do the Q4, and probably after the first quarter do Q5, so we can kind of review those together. But my goal this morning is just to give you a quick idea of what's happening out on Fort Myers Beach with the Fort Myers Beach Chamber of Commerce, kind of run through a few things. I'll take questions if anybody has questions, and we're going to be just a little bit informal. Our chamber out on Fort Myers Beach, as some of you may or may not know, literally lost everything that we had in the storm in Hurricane Ian, right down to the last paper clip. I couldn't salvage pretty much anything, and for whatever reason, when I left the building the last day, I took an ice tray with me. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but it's just, you just don't realize what you just don't realize. So the TDC funds that we received were critically important to us to get us back on our feet, to make us stable, and to help fund or seed some of the events that came in Q4 of 2024, like American Sand Sculpting Championship. Those funds that we received actually got that event off the ground, and as we'll talk about when I come back to you guys, was hugely successful. But another one of the things that those funds helped to get us up and running was our Roxy Visitor Information Center. Because we lost our building, we had no home. So we used to own this little visitor information center, and years ago we had to sell it. And the folks who bought it generously donated it back to us so that we could use her, and her name is Roxy, and she is named after Roxy Smith of the Pink Shell. And if you knew Roxy Smith, who was one of our grand dames of Fort Myers Beach, an amazing lady, and we can think of nothing better than to use her as a visitor information center in honor of Roxy. So we were allowed to borrow her. We still have her out on Times Square. She's at the base of Times Square. And what I love about her presence there, not only that she's spreading the mission of Fort Myers Beach tourism and information for the community, but our residents come out and talk there. They volunteer there. We get visitors that come. The businesses come. We have a number of programs like Where's Roxy that go out every week to different chamber members and visit and educate about Fort Myers Beach, but also network for businesses. And she sits on a piece of sidewalk that's owned by the town of Fort Myers Beach, who is generously contributing that space to us at no charge. And the parking for our volunteers who man her and our staff is provided for free by Terry Prasad, who owned the Sunset Beach Grill, which was right behind there. So this is a partnership that has happened with everybody kind of pitching in. And then through the grant funding, we are able to do some marketing out of her. We're able to staff her 7 days a week, 10 a.m. until sunset every day. And it's just incredible the amount of people that come up. We are tracking her numbers. We are doing visitor information, interactions, spreading different coupons and knowledge about what's happening. We get questions, everything from how close to the beach do the sharks get, to what's happening here at Times Square. The pier, when is it coming back? I mean, that happens all the time. But I just threw a few pictures up here because I think pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? It just talks about the celebration of people coming, getting information. And of course, the VCB did a beautiful spotlight for us on the Roxy and what her mission is. And that is up on our website. And this is just a quick example of how we're tracking, where they're coming from, kind of some of the questions we're getting. We're doing zip code, we're doing number of people every day that we're interacting with. And as you can see just from this quick little snapshot, they're coming from all over the world. And so people are still drawn to Fort Myers Beach. They want to come to Southwest Florida. They want to participate and spend their hard-earned dollars here and relax and enjoy our area. But we still have to continue to get the message out that we are recovering. You know, as John said, we're not even 50% open yet, which I can speak to in a minute. This is, again, another direct guest interactions with even the weather, notes on the weather. So if we're looking at numbers, was the weather affecting it? And one of the things about Roxy, while she's cute and amazing, you can't step inside of her when the weather is difficult. So we are talking about future iterations of what that visitor center may look like. But in the meantime, we're thrilled to have her there and to be spreading the word about Fort Myers Beach. We also started a program, our staff in the Roxy, called Where's Roxy? Every Friday, the two team members that run Roxy put together either an outing for the members, visitors, and guests and residents to go to a business and learn about the business, or they meet in front of the Roxy and we have a speaker and they have coffee and donuts. And when the farmers market was there, it was great because we have hundreds of people coming by, gathering information, chatting, and it's a community. It provides our town, people in the town, the visitors, to just interact with each other, to do something that's community-based, community-spirited, and promotes not only Fort Myers Beach, of course, but Lee County. And this is just a quick example of some of the Where's Roxy outings. We had the Mound House, we went to the Railroad Museum, the Coast Guard was generous enough to take us out on a cutter. Tomorrow they're going on airboat rides out in the Everglades, and 2 weeks they did a List distillery with the spirits going there to the distillery. They've gone to Edison Ford, so they're moving not only within and around Fort Myers Beach, but the whole county. And it's educating not only our business owners and our residents, because they can participate in this as well, there's no cost. It's educating them about Greater Lee County and helping all of us to become better stewards and better ambassadors of the community that we live in. And we all know we need that right now. Additionally, we've been able to do some things like partner up with the Savor the Shore campaign. When the VCB did that last year, we actually took it a step further and did a contest. So we had a little stamp. If people came to the Roxy and went to the different restaurants, they could get their item stamped. They could turn in their form at the Roxy Visitor Information Center. And then at the end of the Save the Shore, we drew 2 different winners. One got round-trip tickets on the Key West Express. One got a 2-night stay at the Gullwing Hotel and Resort. And we were able to share that and kind of, spread the word and get a little bit of excitement about that campaign. And this was really amazing for all of us. It just gave us a little different, something different to speak about. We decided this year, or last year and this year, not to do a visitor guide again. It's just too difficult to be asking our members to pay advertising dollars at this time. Even this year, we're a little concerned about. So instead, we chose to go with a tear-off map, and our TDC funds went to help fund this for us. We put together a map. We asked anyone who was going to put their QR code on the back of the tear-off map to just give us a $200 little bit of help, and then the TDC funds went to the rest of this. This tear-off map goes out to all of our hotels on the beach, our vacation rentals. They go in the different rooms. We have it at bars, at restaurants, and we are rolling through these things. We're doing 5,000 prints at a time, and we keep running out. We're on now working to do our 3rd updated versions. We're finding things are changing pretty quickly. Some of the members who are on this one are no longer here, or some of the businesses are no longer here. But I do want to put out that we did put the Visit Fort Myers up in the top corner there to make sure that one folks can get all of the information for the whole county. And they do love it because they can write on there, we can put notes, we can put arrows, we can tell folks, okay, go down here, just south of us, you can go down to Lover's Key, there's the Mound House, and we're trying to highlight, there's the shrimp docks, different things that folks might be interested in as they're talking. And this is, by the way, in the Roxy as well. Again, another huge thing that we're doing is volunteers at the Roxy. We want to engage our wider community. I know a number of the VCB volunteers have come and helped us out at sand sculpting at the Roxy. Anyone is welcome to come and spend some time with us at the Roxy. We'd love to have you. You never know who you're going to meet out there. You never know who's going to walk up. A lot of our realtors enjoy it because folks walk up who are looking for property, looking for homes. We have investors that walk up. They want to know what's going on in the community. What's the pulse of the community? What are things looking like? What's happening? We do a ton of membership outreach for the chamber. These are just some of the examples of things that we do to get folks engaged. We are a reasonably priced chamber. We do not try to gouge folks, and they get a ton of benefits like free social media, free advertising in our weekly newsletter that goes out to about 25,000 different email addresses, all kinds of information. And the goal really is just to be inclusive of everyone. We're a fun chamber. I kind of get accused of that sometimes. chamber, and we're also an inclusive chamber. We have members and folks who belong to us from every genre you can think of, and we also offer social memberships. So many of our residents are social members. So it's not just a business-minded chamber and community. Some more of our visitor outreach materials that we were able to do, and I'd like to say before Ian, we were on such a tight budget with the chamber. I've always run it very, very tightly because we just didn't have a lot of money. We didn't own our own building. And this has been some of the things we've been able to do. These are out in the I-75, I-95, and I-10 visitor information centers. So we send those regularly up to them so that they get put into those stands, the rack card stands that are out there. And then, of course, we created our Bayside Veterans Park concert series. We started this a little over a year ago. It's every Sunday afternoon at beautiful Bayside Park. Again, a lovely partnership. The town donates the space, the stage, the electric to us. Each of the businesses that are around this Bayside Park pitch in to pay for the band that is there. We only have local bands, so we're supporting local music, local art. And we offer up the space to any nonprofits who want to put a table out for the day. And then members can also participate with a small donation to put their information out there. And I think if you look at the very bottom, it might be a little bit hard for you to see, but we took a sampling of the Sundays when we have the concert versus the Sundays that maybe they got rained out. And it's happened quite a few times when it rains out. For example, on the 4th of August, we had no band, and one of the surrounding businesses did $9,000. Wouldn't give you the exact numbers, but in food and beverage. And then the next week when we had the concert, he did 20. And then 22, and then 27, and then we had a week without the band because of rain, 12,000, and then of course 23. So you can see that band being there on a Sunday afternoon, 4 to 7, is a huge impact. And of course we do the sponsorship newsletter goes out every week, and again, a partnership between the town, us, and then the businesses that are surrounding it, and of course, a different member each week can be a part of that. Just a quick sampling of some of the things that we did in Q3 2024. Some of the news outlets, media outlets, places that we had an impact in that I got to speak, I got to be interviewed, I got to quote, I got to do something to talk about Fort Myers Beach and the greater Southwest Florida community. How important it is to get people to come back, and yes, we are open for business. This is an example of one of the ads that we put in the Beach Observer, talking about who's open in the different categories. And then Destination Magazine, Visit Florida advertising that we did, some of the pre-advertising we did for sand sculpting, of course, marketing with the VCB. And then I have a bunch of analytics that we put in here. Our website, for whatever reason, seems to be the website that pops up first. And I get calls for the Edison Courthouse to buy tickets. I get calls for the railroad. I get calls for all these different destinations. And I tell them, no, I think you're on the Chamber's website, but if you click through, or I can give you the phone number and help you. But that tells me that we are doing the right things on our website. So we're small, but we're mighty. And we have amazing engagement for the little bit of money that we spend. And I'm just really, really proud of my team. I'm only one person. I couldn't do what I do every day if it weren't for my chamber team that's around me. And I'm really proud to say, because of the assistance we've had with the grant funding, I finally have a full staff. I've never had a full staff in 9 years. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be leading the team that I am. I can't tell you how proud I am of Fort Myers Beach coming back the way it has. We have an amazing partnership with the town. Obviously, Mayor Dan is here, and we all work together out there. And I'm happy to say that we have one more hotel that's coming online, Best Western, and at that point, once that comes on, we'll be at about 1,400 rooms. It's a little under 50% of what we had pre-storm, but our vacation rentals are rebounding at a much higher rate, and those are opening every week now. We're getting new doors for that. So it's a pretty exciting time to be out there. Lots of businesses coming out of the ground now, the Whale, the Beach Bar, obviously Neptune's coming down, so you see that happening. Myerside should be coming along shortly. Yep. Yeah, so lots of good stuff happening and lots of stuff in the pipeline. And this was kind of an interesting thing. So if you look at the top one there at the end of September, guess what that was? Yeah, that would be our little friend Helene that showed up. But we do get these great interactions and have a lot of juice on that website. And that's about it. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I think I'm right at my 10 minutes. Any your
We
support.
have a question over here. Nigel?
Thank you. Secretary Swall, congratulations. We all hear that's a Herculean effort you're involved in. Can you just give us, off the top of your head, a rough estimate of the number of business members you currently have?
We have about 400, and I think we're sitting at 442, which we've never had that many that many members in my 9 years of being in the chamber either. So it's kind of an interesting study to see how our membership has kind of exploded a little bit, and yet we're in recovery. But it's opportunity out there is amazing. People want to help. People really do want to be a part of it. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Any other questions?
Go Roxy.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate it, and you'll have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Jackie. Tam, you have a report for us?
Yes, I do. I guess I can borrow this from you. All right. So December bed tax collections came in at 3.6 million. That's a 2% increase over the previous December, and we are still a smidge behind fiscal year to date. Obviously, the impacts in October weighing heavy on that first quarter, but I suspect when we get to the new year numbers, we will start to see that number as a positive. You can see how this December ranks in comparison in past Decembers. A little behind 19 and 20, but as you see, ahead of 22, 23. And same for fiscal year. Star report. Occupancy was up, ADR down, slight increase to RevPAR, and of course trailing year to date for the calendar year, landing at 64% for the year occupancy for the county. And you can see how those numbers rank over that period, very similar to the bed tax collection. Vacation rentals, performance continues to improve. Calendar year occupancy of 36.4%. Still like to see that closer to the hotel number, but we have a lot of vacation rentals in the market, and people have a lot of options to choose from, so that affects occupancy for sure. But increases in occupancy, ADR, and of course RevPAR. You can see how that looks in comparison. That's pretty close. That's an increase over 19, but still trailing 2021. In terms of our hotel room count, we've heard some good news in this arena, and really pleased to report these numbers. South Seas back online, and some properties opening on Sanibel, including Sundial and Sanibel Inn. Seeing that increase, we are moving in the right direction. Excited about that. Very excited to have Best Western open. I'm anticipating that's any minute. Watching Facebook with anticipation, but I know they're working really hard. Yes, sir.
These numbers include Lani Kai and Best Western?
Does not include Best
Best
Western.
Western's not open.
Does include Lani Kai. So we're showing 48%. Open at this point. And airport traffic up in December, and calendar year to date an increase. Really good year at the airport. Super happy about those numbers. As an update for you, a reminder of what hotels we currently have in construction. Studio Res down at Alico Road, that's the brand new Marriott brand of hotel, limited service hotel intended for longer stays, and we're getting the first one in the country built here in our area. And then the two properties on Sanibel, the Shalimar, which you just heard from John, and of course Tony has good news as well. The Beachview project is underway, 22 units. So 2 projects under construction on Fort Myers Beach. And then This is the list of hotels in final planning. I will add that nothing you see on that list is a guarantee. We get this data from CoStar and blend it with some information we have, but those are projects that are in the works potentially, and a little bit of indication there for you as to where they are. And then, next slide. Oh, I thought we had the ones approved. Well, Bill has good news from Fort Myers Beach. I thought we had some of those images. So at Fort Myers Beach, we have 3 projects that have approval. Myers Side, 45 units, I believe there. Do I have that number right? I think that's right. And Neptune.
Yep.
And now a new project at Pinchtown.
Yep.
So
Exciting.
soon those, fingers crossed, soon we'll start to see those come out of the ground and be moving some of those numbers ahead. But I'm pleased with where we are. All right, with that, I'm going to invite Joseph up to give us the fourth quarter. Someone has.
Walking up, may I ask a question on the hotel?
Sure.
Of course,
Yeah,
you recognize.
Chair. How are vacation rentals considered in those? Can you just, are we going to be able to get them broken out at some point? I mean, that's just a huge question that we always ask. We're going to have more and more, so how are those incorporated?
Are you asking?
2 questions. One, are vacation rentals included in that bed tax and grouped in on the hotel counts and things like that for?
In terms of the bed tax report, of course, the vacation rental numbers are included.
Okay.
In terms of broken out, we have a real estate line on that breakout we share with you every year. And that's where you will see the vacation rental numbers. They are not broken out by municipality.
Okay, because I know that they're just going to grow and grow, so it would be really nice if we could kind of figure out how we could see those with the balance of hotels and things like that, because I think moving forward, that's going to be really important for us to understand, and also to make sure people are actually registered and paying the taxes that all the hoteliers pay for sure.
It's a great question, and it's a question that comes up regularly. And so what I will say to you is we've heard you. We hear what the request is. Tam and her team continually are working with the clerk's office. As you know, it's the clerk's office that prepare those reports for us. We have had probably 3 or 4 conversations just in the last month to see if there is a way to provide some transparency in those reports, because I believe, that's really what you're all looking for. So we don't have the solution yet, but we will continue to have those conversations with the clerk's office to see if there is a way to give some more transparency in those numbers for the council.
That would be great, and I would, add to that. Are there any other municipalities around the state of Florida, around the country, that actually do have that breakout? Because a lot of times we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We could just model after a wheel that keeps on turning.
Yes, duly noted. And again, Tam and her team have identified some potential other reports throughout the county and provided that information to the clerk's office as a matter of example.
Okay, thanks, Christine.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mine relates to the STAR report, and it's broken out by county, state, and the U.S.
Yes, sir.
How accurate is the STAR report showing units that might be offline? Do you think that there will be units, when it comes up to this percentage, that are actually not rentable?
Yeah, STAR, I think we learned some things in the post-Ian experience with STAR. I think I always thought STAR was rock solid information, and I don't want to say that it's not, but in a case where we have partial openings, STAR does not have the capacity to manage that information. So if
Also as good as who participates in it. So if you're a hotel that's reopening or not reopening and you don't pay to be with Star, then your numbers are not in this. So,
It's up to the individual hotel. If you
Yeah.
have rooms out of inventory, you have to report it to STAR, and they have to be out of inventory for a certain period of time in order for them to deduct it from the total room count. They can do it, but the individual hotel has to do it, and they don't always do it.
yeah, It's a lesson we learned, through the experience. And by the way, our colleagues to the north that had some experience, room loss from Hilton and Helene, Milton and Helene, commonly called Hilton here. They're having that same experience, they're going through those same challenges, but, they don't know that we have X number of units open at a property versus X number of units closed. They're looking at that as a total available for occupancy. So yes, it is I shared that with you a while back. It is affecting the numbers. It's very difficult for us to pin that down, but it is affecting the numbers. The other thing is, it's great as we add these properties back online, but you don't immediately have your occupancy of everyone else the minute you open your doors. So that's taking some time too. And not to forget, we opened 600 hotel rooms between April and December of this year, also impacting occupancy. Those were all inland hotels, new builds open, but all of those things are affecting, supply and that occupancy rate. So lots of variables, lots and lots of variables. Did that answer your question, Rob?
Any other questions?
All right.
All right. Joseph.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Again, Joseph St. Germain. I'm the president of Downs St. Germain Research. I know it's a packed agenda, so we're giving a very broad overview of October through December, and then we'll also do a short recap of a hurricane sentiment study that we did in November, which the team has had for a couple months, just to give you a sense of understanding how much we had to overcome for this busy season. So if you want the full report, it's only 140 slides, so long weekend, you can kind of get through it. Mine on the October through December is going to be 7. So again, pretty broad as we get through this. And before I get into the figures, you've already touched on it, but October through December across, as we're putting we put a lot of type reports like this together for October to December. Hurricanes impacted the entire state. Some places were up because they had hurricane evacuation. Other ones got impacted by the hurricane, so that had some impact on all these numbers. So let's look at some of the major metrics, and I just did in comparison to like 2022 and beyond, because that's some of the feedback I've received from this board. Let's kind of continue to look forward. Number of visitors was up 7.6% year over year, and as you compare that to 22, like the right after Ian, and then also room nights were up 6.1%. One of the things there is, we continually have more units being open year over year as we kind of begin our recovery. So occupancy can be flat, yet room nights go up. That's how that relationship works. And then also just for the calendar year, visitation reached nearly 3.2 million, up 15.5%, and room nights up 15% to 4.4 million. As we look at spending and economic impact, spending for October through December, nearly $680 million, up 3.2%. For the year, it's a little bit greater than $3.1 billion. And then as we look at total economic impact compared to the direct spending, up 2.7% over $1 billion. One of the things that you'll notice there, visitation was up slightly higher than spend. Two factors there. If someone is evacuating or here for hurricane recovery, they spend differently for leisure, but also as part of post-pandemic, people are still taking trips. They just may be taking shorter trips, spending a little less money, but they're still not stopping the trips. So that's why the growth in spend wasn't as high as the percentage of the growth in visitation. Just some things to mention there. Normally I go through a whole bunch of slides. Four things generally that kind of speak to national trends that you're seeing here. Number one, the share of visitors who considered other destinations within the state nearly doubled. And now other destinations means we're not talking in that question we asked, did you consider like Orlando or Tampa or other places in Southwest Florida? But like the lesser traveled destinations, we're starting to see more people consider those destinations. That's part of a national trend of people coming to maybe not wanting to go to the Bright Lights Big City or places that they've always been to, or like the things that nationally you think of with Florida, like Disney or things like that nature. So that's something that you can lean into a bit. You're not a small destination, but you're also not Orlando, so that's something that can be your benefit as we move forward. One of the things, actually, as I had a call with Tamara before this presentation, one of the things that we noticed this quarter was an increase of visitation from within state. So that was when it went from 7% to 8.6%. Still not a massive percentage, but still that's 20,000 more people from within the state, and a lot of them coming from Southeast Florida, Miami, West Palm Beach, that kind of thing. Granted, it may not be to what it was, but it's still, we're starting to see some movement there. So that was good to see. As we look at your top markets, there's the list. Chicago was 6%, New York, Atlanta 5%, and then the rest of them that you see listed was at 3%. A lot of the names that you're used to seeing very often. Again, this is October through December. I do know from Minneapolis-St. Paul, I had breakfast next to a big family from Wayzata, Minnesota. So that's going to be your Minneapolis-St. Paul area. So that's something I know that does good in January through March. So just something I want. And one other thing I did want to mention, the percentage of visitors who came from internationally was about the same, but that means there was about a 7% increase in international visitors. So that was good to see, especially at a time when you had a couple of hurricanes coming into the state, not only here, elsewhere. Where we saw it international, a lot of folks who had that trip booked, as long as it wasn't during the hurricane, a lot of them still made that trip. So that was good to see. And then just as we start to talk more about, we saw where some of these hotels are reopening, some of these communities are growing. Here's your top communities where visitors are saying. Fort Myers is still leading the way at 38%, Cape Coral 16%, Fort Myers 12%, Bonita Springs 9%, Estero 8%, and Sanibel 7%. And that Sanibel is starting to get a little bit now. As we just mentioned a little bit ago, as some of those hotels reopen on Sanibel, I think we'll start to see that grow as we move forward. But yeah, overall, these are kind of the things that we want to touch on. That doesn't mean there isn't a whole bunch of other good data in there. I just wanted to give you some of the things that we've noticed. And then finally, for the visitor tracking, we did look at the occupancy barometer. Again, this is what we're asking hoteliers, folks who run vacation rentals. For January through March, we saw people estimating more down than up, and a similar percentage for April through June. Granted, this is a data point talking to general managers and things of that nature. That doesn't mean it's going to happen, but just kind of as we look at the mood in the room, if you will, it was a little bit more negative than positive for January through March and April through June.
So when was that taken?
Let's see. This would have been we send that out in October through December. So it sent out in early January, early January. So we're a month later and change. So we're into it now, but as that snapshot at that point in time, that is what the sentiment was. And, kind of to the star point, it's as good as who we talk to. We talk to a decent amount of folks, but it really depends on who you talk to. That has an impact there. That's October through December. Before I stop and just talk about hurricane sentiment, so this board is aware of what we did and kind of how the staff can use it, I want to see if there's any other larger questions. Again, try to keep this fairly broad, given a fairly...
Any questions, Tim?
Let's move on.
If you can go back to this, just the sediment, I mean, that's, talk about concerning. I'm not one of the ones in the down, I'm on the up, but the biggest challenge we're seeing with people wanting to come back to, either if it's Sanibel or Fort Myers Beach, it's the lack of the conditions of the island. But, the pier, 2028, we had a governor that got the Sanibel Causeway built in, 60 days? Can the governor help us? The municipalities are cracking down on getting these buildings down, but if we don't even get our own county facilities up.
Mr. Chair.
Christine.
I hear you, and I hear the frustration, and I think everybody shares some of that frustration. There's a marked difference between the procurement processes that the governor can do and the procurement process that, as an agency who's accepting FEMA dollars, has to do. So we have to make sure that we are following the FEMA-approved procurement processes in order to ensure reimbursement from the federal government.
Can we use TDC funds?
I think that can be a loaded question, in that when you are looking at one project in the totality of all the projects that still need to be funded, or still need to go through that process. I know that the team is doing everything that they can to move as quickly through that process in order to ensure reimbursement for that. But if we looked at all of the projects that way, that would really wind down those TDT dollars very, very quickly. And I think that, if we have funding that is available to us through the FEMA process, I think it's only prudent to continue to explore the avenues for reimbursement so that those dollars can supplement those projects and or activities that the community as a whole would like to see that are not FEMA reimbursable.
I get it. I mean, as you watch the news, there's not much or any federal agency. But, I mean, they're telling you right now, the number one, I guarantee you, the number one reason because of the visitors are not coming back to us because of the condition of the area. I mean, that's the biggest battle that we hear constantly. And it's just, from us, marketing, we're focused on, all right, get to the resort, stay at the resort. But that, I mean, that's not good for the whole community. I mean, it's getting, but we got to get these things fixed.
In fairness, I think some of this response here is particularly from the open hotels that just had 600 rooms built around them. If you've got 5 new hotels added to the marketplace, it's going to affect your occupancy.
Beach hotels,
yeah,
they're not going to get. It's an overflow.
Correct.
I mean,
correct.
And if we don't get these facilities up, you ain't going to get the bed tax dollars.
I understand. I'm just saying, I think that particular response has to do with an increase in supply and recognizing that occupancy is going to be impacted by that increase in supply. But I'm not discounting what you're saying. I think we all are ready to have those facilities rebuilt. But I think that some of what you're seeing there, and maybe it would help, I don't want to push, but maybe it would help if we go to the next portion of Joseph's presentation, because he's...
Kristen had a question.
Yes, Bill, legislature is in session now. Best thing, and we had good advice yesterday, is get on the phone with our elected representatives because they're in the hot seat right now and they're talking about budget. And I think that's what we're going to be doing.
I just came back from Tallahassee. I spent all day there yesterday. It's a very interesting environment, much different than last year. The message we got all the way around the board was there will be fewer dollars and be very careful how they allocate them. The money's just not going to be there like it was, and federal dollars are not something we should be counting on to the extent that we have in years past. Even though they know we're still waiting on them, it's just not there. So, I hate to be the doom and gloom guy, but we need to be planning for tightening our belts.
Where the beaches do well, the whole county does well. So
Help ourselves.
I'd be glad for Fort Myers to chip in and write a letter. You'll help the beaches.
Well, I think that, to your point, I've gotten the same message that, dollars are going to be harder to get, right? Doesn't mean that they're not available. How do they get allocated, I think, is important. Right. Talking to what Bill was saying and what you were saying as far as it's a complicated process when you're waiting for FEMA dollars. And it's a lot of red tape. And it's a double-edged sword for an elected official to be able to say, we're waiting for FEMA dollars. Well, Bill, you're saying, why aren't we getting this bill? Well, yeah, you can pay for it, but then you're no longer able to get that funding, right? So who's going to pay for it? It's going to be the taxpayer at the end of the day, right? And then they get upset that why are you building something that a hotel is going to benefit from with my tax dollars? So I think from the state, I think a good approach is, from the county's point of view, is to attack it as a TDC. Where can we get those funds that can go to these projects so we don't have to wait for FEMA to obligate these, whether it's restroom trailers, whether it's building the pier, whatever. If we can get them to focus those few dollars to where it benefits the entire county, whether it's on Fort Myers Beach, Sanibel, Captiva, wherever, or Cape Coral, if we can direct that funding to the projects that we know we're going to be waiting for years on from FEMA to get the funding back, that might accelerate some of these things to want people to come down and spend the money then it's going to the entire county. It's not going just directly to Fort Myers Beach or Sanibel or Cape Coral or Estero or wherever. At least that's my mentality when I go up there and talk to them. Is it's not a lot of money, but if we can direct it, we're all rowing in the same direction. I think we could get more that way than trying to be individuals. It's my 2 cents.
I just want to make it clear for the record that all of these projects, including the pier, they are moving forward. So they are moving through the process, and the teams that are put into place, Robert Cody, Assistant County Manager, has facilities. They are making all these projects a priority. So they are moving. I don't want anybody to think that we're waiting for some approval process to occur, because that is not the case. And on the pier, I believe they are moving through the design phase right now. The activity and the work continues to go. The designs are going through that process. The procurement process is in place so that once the design process is forward, then construction can begin. But keep in mind, some of these projects are larger projects, and so the size and scale and scope of the project itself requires a certain amount of time to get them up and running. So I didn't want anybody to think there wasn't any activity occurring.
Is there a compiled list of all those projects and what costs are going to be and timeline on all of them?
Yeah, Parks and Rec does have a website as it relates to any of the projects that are affiliated with Parks and Rec. It is on their website. I'm sure we can get the link to the TDC Council so that you can share that with everyone. And I know that the team is working on continuing to build communication tools so that the community is aware of what the status and the project, the status of each of these products are.
In our instance, we always talk about the big projects, like obviously the pier and stuff. But what we hear, at least on our island, is a lot of the things when it comes to sidewalks and curbs and crosswalk signals and all these things that are tied up, although they're moving forward, they're tied up in the FEMA process of trying to get allocation or obligation so that you can go out and do the actual work to get reimbursed. It's the little things, I think, that a lot of people, at least that have talked to me, have the bigger issue with. I don't want to bring down my father, or I don't want to bring down my mother who's in a wheelchair because we can't roll them down the sidewalk because 10 feet of the sidewalk's missing. Small little things like that aren't huge costs. I know it's probably not in the TDC's realm, if you will, of funding, but it's the alligator closest to the boat, right? It's the thing that people talk about. If they can't get around safely, if they can't get around freely, or they don't feel safe crossing a road because there's no sign there, and we're waiting for FEMA to obligate something, when we're not talking $17, $20 million piers, we're talking tens to $20,000 worth of projects that could be done in a weekend. Those, I think, are the things that frustrate people, at least that I talk to, that are coming down and want to spend their money on the town.
Thank you. Council members, thank you.
Yeah, I was interested in the whole, it's not the process, it's the funding. We're having a massive problem with permitting. So from the pier standpoint, I think Naples, Fort Myers Beach, Cape Coral, I think we're all kind of having the same type of issue. We've called in every dog we can at this point. We've gotten the governor involved. We've gotten Donald's involved, Jonathan Martin involved, in trying to get these things through the process of Army Corps, and so I don't know that it's necessarily just the fund. For us, anyway, it is the process for us. So as far as going to Tallahassee and just keeping the pedal to the metal on we need you guys to clear the way for us to do this. I think we still need to focus on that piece, not just the financial.
We have the same issue in Matt Lachey, so completely understand permitting. Any other comments? Joseph, great presentation. You want to continue?
Yes. So thank you. And I always appreciate the discussion here. I'm going to just do a brief overview of this hurricane sentiment study we did. We did this in conjunction with your TDC CVB, but also Charlotte and Sarasota counties, just to get an idea of what people think what was the impact of these latest hurricanes. So I won't go through all this, but we basically interviewed 400 potential visitors in major markets for all the counties. A lot of the names of cities that you see there are cities I just talked about in terms of your types of visitor. So I just want to give the broad overview. This survey was done shortly after the election. So when we looked at, hey, thinking about top of mind before we even mentioned the hurricane, it really isn't top of mind for many people not in the state of Florida. Only 2% of visitors wouldn't visit the area in the next 6 months. And again, this was done in November because of the hurricanes. Only 5% canceled trips. We know there were canceled trips due to hurricanes. But after the election, it was kind of like the election kind of took it out of people's minds, and it really wasn't top of mind anymore. At the same time, later in the questionnaire, when we reminded them of the hurricanes, because that's important when you're doing a survey like this, because if you're going to visit an area, you're going to do some research, and you might be reminded of that thing. About 1 in 6 mentioned they wouldn't visit the area in the next 6 months, so which is currently this period. And about 2 in 5 believe there's a major impact on Lee County. Okay, Joseph, what does all this mean? What it means is it's a reminder that you need to keep telling the story and continue to market in order to just remind the people that you don't need to tell them that we're open. It's just more of a, hey, show them that we have a lot of good things available, because you are going up always against their perception. And unless you're pushing that narrative, they are just going to think hurricane. And especially for folks who don't live in Florida, it's just a different mindset from all the sentiment studies that we've done. So just a reminder to keep pushing that, just because it's like, again, it's not top of mind. It's not what they're thinking about. But if they do some research and it's brought up, you need to be pushing that narrative. You need to be the ones who are kind of telling that story, as opposed to letting the news tell that story when it comes to what it's like right now compared to what it was 3-4 months ago. So that's the broad overview. It's kind of like it's not a top of mind issue with potential visitors, but it is an important issue to remind you that you need to keep telling that story, because it does come up. Any questions there?
Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And sir, with that, my report is over.
Mr. Milky, a sports development update, please.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Good morning, Council. So we're going to go over October through December and then do our calendar year 2024 review, and then also show a little bit of the television impact of some of our products that we've enjoyed this fall. So in October, we had a number of events that generated almost 17,000 hotel room nights, welcoming about 15,000 sports visitors to town through these events, and they generated about $8.3 million in direct visitor spending. The big anchors of the month were Perfect Game, World Wood Bat, impacted a little bit by, that's at the very tail end of the storm, so, but it was still a good event. We had one of our smaller bowling events. As you know, we cycle through all the bowling championships in Florida, and this was our year for the women's senior event, which is a little bit smaller. And then next slide, you can see our monthly, our annual trend line for this month.
Where do they bowl at?
They bowl at on Fowler, mostly. That's the biggest lane facility we have in the county, and then we also use Cape Coral bowl in. So again, it's about 17,000 there, a little down from last year. I think if storms wouldn't have impacted early October, we probably would have been right even with 2023. Going to November, November's turned into quite a month for us. Hotel room nights sold 35,000. That now is the busiest month of our year. It used to be July, and this year November overtook July for the most sports tourism output that we have. $17.5 million of direct visitor spending, certainly anchored by the Roy Hobbs World Series, which is a 5-week event, so it's a part at the end of October, but then we count it as a November event, 17,000 room nights. Then our 2 basketball tournaments, Fort Myers Tip-Off and the Gulf Coast Showcase, which we'll talk more about here in a moment. and a senior softball winter nationals, which is an important event. So next slide. You can see we tipped it over, had a great November. So December, 11,900 hotel room nights, 11,000 visitors, $4.5 million in direct visitor spending. Perfect game, City Palms Basketball Classic's always a mainstay for December, and some Everblades hockey going on. And you can see our, here we go. So about even with what we normally do. Again, 2021 is just an anomaly because that's when a lot of Florida was still closed for tourism and sports, and we really enjoyed being open and active, and so that's why 2021 continues to see a lot. You see a lot of bumps in our annual trend lines.
Is the attendance down from year over year, or just one event?
We didn't have a big BMX event in December that we typically have about every third year. So go to our annual highlights. So 178,000 rooms filled. 2023 was the best year we'd ever had, was 188, so we're down about 10,000 room nights. Direct visitor spending, $77.4 million. We did host the most events, the number of events, so we actually are out there finding new business, trying to put them in every little nook and cranny we have a sports venue for. So we had 20 more events in 03. They are just smaller events. They're karate events at Estero Rec Center. It might be outdoor adventure race up in Caloosahatchee Regional Park. So we are busy. We are bringing more events into the destination, but with the loss of some of the biggest events, you'll remember in July and September due to the storms, the room night count is down. We did have historic months of February and November. We still continue to work very hard at attracting international sports business. As you remember, Lee County was one of the 2 destination sponsors at the WBSC Women's Softball World Cup in Ireland. And then during the holidays, Ireland's national team came and trained here. And they're talking to us about some additional partnerships with us. We hosted Baseball Australia's 18 and under national team for a couple weeks. And then we just got back from WBSC Europe, which that's the World Baseball and Softball Confederation. That's the international governing body for baseball and softball. They're the ones who are really pushing to and trying to ensure that baseball and softball stay in the Olympics every 4 years. And we have the opportunity, again, it's in partnership with Polk County, go up there, we sponsor a reception. We had some very interesting discussions continuing with Ireland. They're talking also about Ireland rugby and cricket coming into Lee County. And then the Netherlands approached us about hosting their national team baseball camp in Lee County as well. So the word is spreading. Our reputation in Europe as a sports destination for camps is really starting to take a hold, and appreciate county leadership's support in us going over and doing stuff like that. So next page would be perfect timing. Red Sox and Twins are just about to jump into spring training. One of our 24 highlights was both of them finished in the top 4 last year in attendance. We hosted the 11th annual Florida High School Baseball State Championships. We brought back the NAIA Sun Conference Baseball Championships, which had been in Palm Beach County for about a decade, so it was nice to get that back over here. We hosted 2 national sports conventions. We will host 2 in 2025. One of them is in partnership with the Visitor Convention Bureau. They had a lead came through their sales office, and they worked really hard in securing that. And then at the end of the day, we came in with some sports incentives to make sure it didn't go to a close neighborhood competitor for business. And it's the American Hockey Coaches Association at the Hyatt. So that's a 4-year deal in May. So we're glad to just be a part of that, and again, in partnership with the VCB. And then we also will have the High School Baseball Coaches Association coming back. And then in 26, we're going to add to that, Pink Shell, we're going to host the Sports Express Conference, which is a really unique, intimate client host city relationship where we have appointments. And it was in Puerto Rico this year, and we get to follow that up in 2026. So Happy with that. And then now you can see our annual trend line. So we're up there with our best 3 years still. Again, I think we would have been closer to 188 had those storms not come through, and we had to cancel a couple big events. So that's that. And then if we can jump real quickly, as you know, again, November is basketball season for us. We have the Gulf Coast Showcase, but also this is a big investment on our part. We put a lot of time and effort into the Fort Myers tip-off because of the television value. It's on FS1 and it's on Fox on Thanksgiving Day. So we wanted to run through a little bit of the media impacts. This is all about the media attention that this destination is getting, that everybody in the room hopefully is getting some residual benefit from. So next slide. You can see that this was the 7th annual for the men. At the very bottom, it's a small number, but there was total viewership on FS1 of just under 1 million views, and this was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of Thanksgiving week. If your next slide is the women's, and this viewership was 650,000 on Fox. That's almost all on Fox and the Women's Sports Network, but most of that viewership came on Thanksgiving Day on Fox National Television. And again, we had South Carolina defending national champs in town. So that was good. And we'll just go through a couple really quickly, just so you can see the assets that we're getting, and that we are making sure that our destination is seen by the world, at least who are watching basketball. Next slide. Next slide. Here you can see this is on-site signage for everyone to see. Next slide. This is all television visible signage, so you can see the LED against the scores table. You can see the sign up in the facility, and your tourism logo on the floor. Again, this is like the Wisconsin-Virginia Tech game on FS1. Next slide. They also gave us all of this LED signage at the Milwaukee tip-off, which was kind of cool. That their partnership yielded. They said, "Hey, we haven't sold all of our assets, so we're gonna market Fort Myers up in Milwaukee." So that was additional coverage we did not pay for. Next slide. We also sponsored the instant replays and the starting lineups, things like that. Next slide. Website inclusion. Next slide. I think we can wrap this up. So what Intersport tells us is that this media value is $1.2 million for our $230,000 investment. We are working with MMGY team to verify those numbers to make sure the return on investment is still working the way it's supposed to, and we'll report back to you on that. And then, I think that's the last page. Just a couple of comments I want to make about, and I always try to do this at the end of our year, is we are only as good as the partnerships that we're surrounded with. And we're so fortunate to have great partnerships. Many are in the room. Red Sox and Twins help us with just about everything, along with the Mighty Muscles. The two colleges partner with us on so much. A lot of you hoteliers in the room, so important to us. Our partnership with SOC, which does much of our sports housing, is here. But the linchpin partnership is Parks and Recreation. And I've said it 20 years, and I'll continue to say as long as they'll let me work here. There's no better parks department in the entire country. And when we sit with our colleagues and they ask us why we are successful with the resources that we have available to us, we let them know that Parks and Recreation is that reason, because of the facilities, because of the manpower, because of the resources that they're able to dedicate to sports tourism. They're not just a partner, they're part of it. It's really hard to peel away when sports and parks move apart. And then, so I just want to say, Mac, I see Mac in the room, and Kathy, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Rob.
And then, yep.
Great job, man. It's so good to see these room nights holding up. They seem to, for sports, probably has to do with a lot of the inland nature of the sports has held up better, I think, than some of the other areas around the county. Question for you. It looks like direct visitor spending is $77.4 million. do you have a rough estimate of how much is put in as far as what your spend is to get that each year?
What do you mean, the return on investment as far as bed tax coming in versus bed tax going out?
I guess that would include all of our funding of baseball stadiums, the sports authority budget, any cost. I'm wondering if you guys compile that to see whether at the end the 77, what you get to get to the 77.
We can work on that. Typically, what we find is that the bed tax being generated through amateur sports alone is paying for our budget. It's basically about a break even. But then the economic impact on top of that, which is direct visitor spending, that's the hotel, that's the shopping, that's the rental cars, that's the shopping and going to attractions. That's what the direct visitor spending is. So for our $1.2 million budget to generate $77 million of direct visitor spending in our community, I think is a great return on investment story. But we could then try to take it even further and go into what our ballpark debt is and what that's generating, because we know that through the 2018 study, spring training generates an additional $69 million. So you take amateur sports of 77, add the 69 spring training, and now you've got a big, a much bigger number.
And obviously, with that being 20% of the bed tax, last year 44 million, so $10 million going to it and getting $100 and some million in return. I mean, it's a pretty big gap. So that ROI is pretty strong, I would say.
Yeah, that's what I expected it would look like.
Yes.
And I think the other interesting thing is something you just mentioned, that your amateur sports, I mean, all the eyes go on the major league sports, and I hear this a lot around the community, but I don't think they realize, and that's an important aspect, don't get me wrong, but I don't think they realize oftentimes how much this amateur sports is going on in Lee County, and that we're able to use a lot of those facilities to have us, be a place that people want to come to for amateur sports.
Just a couple more things. I want to quickly recognize that this will be the 100th year anniversary of spring training in Lee County. So Connie Mack brought the A's here to Terry Park in 1925, so 100 years this year of spring training. And also mentioned that Savannah Bananas are set to have 3 games at JetBlue Park Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So again, to have a brand, just to your point, Rob, is we've got these amazing assets that were funded by TDC, and then to be able to do extra things with them and bring the world's eyes to our destination through the Savannah Bananas and things like that was one of the reasons I think we've made those.
Thank you, Jeff. Bill?
In the past, we've done the mascots, like out on the beach for social media. Are we doing anything like that? I know that's more marketing questions, but my thought is, with this 100-year anniversary, those local market news stations in Boston and Minnesota, I'm sure they're going to be interviewing the Red Sox. And can we get them out on the beaches and doing, either in Sanibel or Fort Myers Beach, and doing
We always do. So we have a number of satellite media interviews during spring training that we emphasize, and some of those are shot at the beach, different places within the county, so that we get, I mean, they're radio, I want to be clear, they're radio, but they're talking about where they're at. So that happens. I don't know if, I have to admit, I don't know if we have anything planned with the mascot. We don't always do that every single year, but I defer to Brian on that. We can get back to you.
Mascots are great. If you can get players, even better. So
Not happening. We both know that, but we can't afford them. But
aren't the news stations up in Boston and Minnesota, aren't they doing interviews?
Oh, yeah, it's happening all year long, and we participate in that. It's a big effort,
Bill,
every year.
I had some nodding from our friends from the Twins that recognize your request, and we'll see what they can do.
Thank you. We want more Minnesota visitors down here.
I hear you.
We also have strong partnerships with both radio stations that carry the Red Sox and Twins, so
Jeff, this is more an ask. I was looking at, Utah is going to have the Winter Games coming up, and it's not will they make a profit, it's they're looking at several $billions in profit because the infrastructure they had coming a little bit smaller, but you think globally, if we partnered with other regions, or are there other regions here in the state that we could partner with and possibly look to recruit events, not necessarily recreate or create, but just recruit events here if we partner with, say,
Right.
Southeast Florida or Tampa, Orlando?
So but again, that partnership with Polk County is part of that, right? We have very similar facilities. We have very similar, we're both fairly aggressive when it comes to going and having international presences at different places, because we have to. You know, national organizations find Orlando and Tampa and Miami naturally because they have the big mega facilities and they have, they have global recognition. We have to work harder to make sure that our smaller venues are recognized and that we are setting up such a training element for them that it's the customer service that's coming out of it is.
I understand that, but I'm talking about, could we partner with them to aggressively go out and pursue, and we've done a little bit out of small with basketball in tournaments, but to make something, our larger events that are out there, that we could go out and say, we're going to go after these guys.
We really work with the state of Florida through the Florida Sports Foundation closely, and that helps us, I think, all work together. Like we're working with Miami to make sure they understand what assets we have available for World Cup. Now, we don't have a large soccer venue that is to the standard of an international team like Brazil coming in and setting up their 2-month-long camp. So we have to make sure that we're working on other ways to participate with potential World Cup visitation and housing maybe some media outlets and things like that. But we do work with bigger cities when we can on some of their bigger projects.
Jeff, how does the sales for the spring training look now compared to last year? Would you say it's the same or ahead, or do you know about that?
You know what? I don't know. Victor, do you have, at least on the Twins front, how your ticket sales are going? And I see an uptick in the Red Sox promotions locally here with adding specialty days and things like that. So I would have to imagine the Red Sox sales are doing well too.
Thank you. Any other questions? Listen.
You know, I want to put a plug in for Jeff needs a bigger budget because we could bring a lot of activities here, a lot of congresses, every committee has subsets of coaches committees, medical commissions, athletes commissions, and we can attract all that here because they're not going to be overwhelming. I did 5 Olympic Games. I was on the IOC in Switzerland for a while. I know how all this works, and Jeff and I, it's all going to boil down to giving him the resources to bring it in. So I put that plug in for you.
Thank you.
Actually, we invited Casey Wasserman, the head of the LA Games, to be here for the Edison Awards, but because of the fires in LA, he's had to back out, and they're going to try and send someone else.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff. Under funding requests, we have Lee County Parks and Rec. That can be Assistant County Manager Robert Cody. Are you doing that, or is I'm asking. I thought that's why you're hanging out with us.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Mac Young, Director of Parks and Recreations. Kathy Loomis, Assistant Director for Parks and Rec. I want to say, first of all, thank you, Jeff, for the kind words about Parks and Rec. It's a team effort. We've been doing it a long time. We have the best group of people in parks ever. And we know that. Kathy and I, we always tell our group that we appreciate everything that they do. So we appreciate them so much. And we're also going to thank David and Angelil for coming in today from Family Initiative, and also Victor from the Twins also. Thank you guys for coming out today. We appreciate you so much. Today, good morning, Board and Mr. Chair. We have two requests today that we want to present to you guys today. One is the Sanibel Causeway Island Beach's temporary improvements, and the other one is the adapted baseball field for special needs. FDOT, Lee County, DOT, Lee County Facilities, and also our Parks and Rec staff are working hard to try to get that island open as soon as possible, because I know it's a highly anticipated area that we're trying to get it done in a timely manner. It's going to happen in two phases. The first phase, we're going to be temporary improvements done and to enable a quicker access to the islands itself. And phase two, we'll come back at another time in another TDC meeting to ask for extra funds to permanent fixtures for that location. So Hurricane Ian and the new Causeway Bridge have created a new landscape for that area. Therefore, a new process to refit it, because as we know before, with the parking situation that was there, it was a free fall, right? So we're trying to get some type of designated parking area there. We're going to have some trash receptacles, and we'll go over there in a couple of seconds, what the costs, what the money's going to cover if we get the funding for that. So with the total cost of the phase one project, it'll be about $592,000, and the county match is $78,000. And TD request today that we're asking for is $514,000. And that's going to cover for island A and B, the storage boxes, equipment to have equipment stored in, rural signs, standard portable temporary restrooms, dual hand washing stations on both islands, trash and receptacle containers, post and rope for designated parking, also safety measures, pit shell, and traffic control signage. So with this slide here, it's showing that how the parking is going to be formatted when the group gets done with it. We're talking about 470 bayside parking spaces, 71 Gulfside parking spaces, and 8 portable restrooms with 2 ADA. Again, this is all going to be designated parking. I think it'll be a great thing to keep people organized on this location. The next slide for Island B would be a total of 267 parking spaces, 202 bayside parking spaces, 65 Gulfside parking spaces, 6 portable restrooms with 2 ADA parking spaces on Island B. You guys have any questions on that before we go to the next slide?
Yeah. So the parking, I assume there'll be a fee to pay for the parking?
We haven't got the approval to do pay parking yet. I know that
right
question.
Right now it's to be
it'll still be free until we get directions from our county administration.
Well, yeah.
I vaguely remember prior to Hurricane Ian, Jesse Lavender came out and there was a proposal to do a lot of things to the islands. And we funded, or voted to fund, a large portion of that. Did those funds never get pulled because the storm happened?
Correct. Well, part of it was done.
Yeah, before the
Then
storm.
we lost some of that, obviously, in the storm.
Right.
So this would be essentially part of that original project. It might have been changed based on.
Well, yes, with the format of the storm, with the bridge being formatted, it's going to change the whole concept of it.
Christine.
If I can, to your point, yes, there was an original project that was brought forward for Sanibel Causeway Islands, and I don't know if you recall, but shortly after that, the board had approved putting post and rope to create some designated parking out at those facilities so that it wasn't kind of free-for-all on the beaches. That was the initial phase to create some designated parking. And then we were going to be moving in to the second phase of that original project, which was done in conjunction with FDOT, and that was really to help address some erosion issues that were happening on the island and then being able to add some parks and recreational amenities. That's exactly where we were when Hurricane Ian hit. Hurricane hit took out the post and rope that had been on the islands, and as many of you are aware, the topography of those islands changed significantly. FDOT had to come back in and put a new design, really focusing on resiliency. A lot of you might remember there was some T-groins that were being put in to help stabilize the island. FDOT came back and decided to put sheet piling in, and then after Tropical Storm Debbie, there was some additional erosion and damage that occurred, and so they had continued to make some adjustments. So we're at the point right now with this phase to be able to put in designated parking back while the team continues to work on the phase 2 of the project, which is those recreational amenities that were initially contemplated, but probably need a different set of eyes on them right now based on the changes to the FDOT plan, as well as the changes of the look and topography of the island.
Tony?
Well, question about parking, I've driven that causeway for quite a while and different times, and I've seen the RVs, I've seen trailers, I've seen it all. I'm wondering, has the parking having specific areas or for these larger vehicles, or are all the parking spots going to be one of a kind and all the same?
That's a great question. We did discuss that with our team. It's going to be mainly for cars in an area, and we talked about maybe having a couple of spaces for RV parking also.
On Island A.
In Island A, yeah, Island A.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we believe designating parking is going to make a huge difference on that island, because as you all know, it's been a free fall for, people could park anywhere.
I see 800 spots, which is pretty neat if you get them all there. I can see an RV coming in, taking 4 of them, whatever,
No, we're going to try to make sure that doesn't happen when we format everything.
That was just a question.
Yeah, it'll be designated. The plan right now is to have a few spots that are RV on Island A that are designated. So no, they won't be able to park anywhere they want. It'll all be very designated, which I think for our rangers, for law enforcement, is going to be huge, because it's just been difficult for
Could in
years.
fact an RV come in where the spots are all gone, they take up 4, or is there?
No, they're going to have to park in their spots, and we'll have rangers back on the islands again.
Yeah, the plan is to have a designated area for RVs.
I know. It's been a struggle. They've done unbelievable.
Thank you. Council members, thank you.
Thank you. I notice on here it says that there's not going to be any striping, so they'll be able to take up as much room if you want without that designated each space lineage, I would think. And is this like crushed rock, crushed shell?
Shell rock.
Crushed shell? That was just, the budget just seemed a little light to me. And I don't know if it does to anybody else, but it's about a little over $700 a parking space. It just seems a little light.
So if I may, again.
Please.
This is the initial phase, because the goal is to get those beaches back open for our visitors. And then there is a phase 2, and most of what you see here in phase 1 is hopefully going to be a part of phase 2, but there'll continue to be some adjustments for that longer term plan as we move through the process.
Thank you.
Bill?
That was the question I had.
Any other questions? Rob?
No, I was assuming you were wanting a motion, so I'll make a motion to pass.
Thank you. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Dan Anders, second. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes,
Got
Ms.
one.
Buffield. I'm right here. I have names. I got it there.
So the second request is the adaptive baseball field for special needs. And that's why David and Angela, their group is here today. We're partnering with them, and they're a great group of people, and they brought some of their teams over here today, too. Some folks call it a miracle field or a challenger field. It's a special field designated for the special need. So with this, the benefits of this field is going to develop new skills and abilities, encourage physical activities, and build healthy and supportive relationships. Give them a sense of belonging, just like a regular group of kids that can play, right? So we do the same thing for this. So I don't think we have one in the state of Florida, do we, David?
I think it's one in Miami.
One in Miami? Okay, yeah. I think this would be huge for us to get this here. And also, if we can get this passed, I think Jeff Milkey can help, solicit and get some people from around the country to come here, too, to have some major tournaments, maybe. Jeff Milkey? He's talking to
I think he's selectively hearing.
He didn't want to hear that part, did he? Our county administration team is working closely with the Family Initiative, also the Red Sox and the Twins to help support this project, to get additional funds if needed to have this done. So with this complex, it'll be a baseball field with a rubber-sized surface, 20 standard parking spaces with 680, one concession restroom building, and a covered.
One off a little bit.
Really nice. It'll be small, compact, but it'll be good. And design is $275,000, construction is 3.3, and the total cost is 3.575 for this particular project. And the county match is $2,575,000, and we're requesting from TDC $1 million to help with this particular project.
You'll notice there, if you go back, Mac.
Yep.
When this was presented to our office, we certainly saw some potential for it. We've never marketed a facility like this because we've never had anything. So we saw a facility just like this as part of the overall baseball environment in Phoenix. And so we saw the Miracle Field there, and it was phenomenal. We talked to them about all of the things they do with it. It was pretty cool. We used to have the Challenger Baseball Festival here in Lee County, and we just didn't have enough amenities for them, and they went to St. Pete Clearwater, so something that this could help draw them back. We've talked to a couple different Miracle Leagues around in different states to see if they would like to do festivals and change our Miracle teams with theirs and create some traveling back and forth, some host city partnerships. And then on the international level, this came to our attention a year ago before we even knew this facility was being considered, was Wales has a huge RBI program for adaptive and blind players over in Great Britain, and they are hosting events over there constantly. In fact, at WBSC Europe that I was just at, they did a 15-minute presentation on the European Blind Baseball Festival that they had. So this just lends to opportunities for us, I think. So I just wanted to add that into that.
Thank you. I have a quick question on, is there enough parking? If I'm reading that there's 20 spots and only 6 ADA?
Okay,
Yeah.
So there's additional parking beyond.
Yeah, we have the property, and then not only do we have our property for parking, we have the school's property over there too, so parking.
Yeah, we do have additional parking in that area, yes.
Yeah, and Mac had mentioned this before, our partners are a big part of this project here. So Family Initiative, they have a group of folks here. They've been a wonderful partner within our community. They have students in their school that would certainly benefit from having this type of facility here in Lee County. Our friends over at the Twins, as well as the Red Sox, are very supportive of this field and are working with us if we can bring this project to fruition. Not only do we see this as just a wonderful amenity for our local community, but to Jeff's point, we do feel like it is something that we can put into the inventory from a sports tourism that is sadly not really readily available nationally. So we do feel like it is something that we would be able to market and bring additional businesses into. And then I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention, with the partnership that we have with the Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins, Family Initiative has brought their sensory trailer to spring training. So visitors who are coming from out of town and also our local community, if you are visiting for spring training and you have somebody who needs the use of that facility, that is now something that we never had before. And the Twins and our partners will be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony on February 21st for the actual sensory room that they have built at the stadium. And once again, that is something that would be available to anybody who is coming over to our parks, whether it be for a Twins game or a Miracle game, that allows folks who've not been able to participate in those types of sports to be able to come out and see a ball game. So wanted to share that. Thank
Mighty
you.
Muscle. Bill?
Have we done a return on investment on this?
Not on this part of it, no.
Jeff, one question. I see the benefits. So you're saying that it ball in the line as well?
Oh, absolutely.
So then the field doesn't have to be changed. It services people in the handicapped area.
Well, and what I see it as too is, again, it is adding a facility to our destination that most people in the United States don't have. So it makes us more accommodating, and that opens up discussions with groups that might use this facility in part, but it also brings national attention to our efforts so that it generates more activity in and around the facility. So it doesn't have to be the facility itself that's generating that. And again, we've never had a facility like this to market, so we're just now starting to really dig into what we can do with it.
If the design were to be approved, because it's in design now, is the design finished?
No, it's not designed yet.
So in a perfect world, if you had the design and if we started design tomorrow, and in a perfect world, then I understand it.
Well, let me say, we do have some draft concepts. We haven't started designing anything yet.
So we got a ways to go yet.
Yeah.
So the $1 million, should it all go at once, or do you need it right away, or do you need approval so you can push the design?
Need the approval so we can push the design, absolutely.
Councilmember Stanky.
I don't know how you move forward without a return on investment. I mean, if I'm
Just bring it up, yeah.
I mean, it's $3.5 million. I mean, if you came to me as a business owner and said, I want $3.5 million, I said, all right, where's my return on investment? Is it 3 years? Is it 4 years? 5 years?
I think, Bill, maybe you got to look at it as an amenity to what Jeb is saying, to bring it just as a showcase. So there may not be, you can't maybe do that right away, but I understand your point. But I think you look at it in a different way than a normal situation.
What's the build time? When would it be completed?
Depends on the design.
What was the question?
Permits 14 years, 14 months, 2.5 years.
Yeah, to complete the whole project is about 2.5 years.
Dan? Mayor Dan?
Bill, I see your point, but, return on investment isn't always about dollars and cents. It is in most cases, but as someone that has a special needs child, I can tell you that the return on their investment to have a place in Lee County that could bring people in from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and I think you need to think broader on this, not just baseball. There's a lot of them now that are playing pickleball. There's a lot of them that are interacting with dogs and training. Anyone that has a special needs child, when you see them interact with service animals or Lee County Sheriff's deputies when they come out and they bring their dogs and do their tricks, that's a return on investment. And people that have special needs children or adults, they will spend money and they will come in. So I don't know that it's always about the dollars and cents when you're talking about things like this, because I think that will come when the word gets out.
I mean, I'm not against the project in that aspect. My concern is we don't have bathrooms at Bowditch. We don't have bathrooms at Lynn Hall Park. I don't have a pier. I don't have a fishing pier on Sanibel. And we're looking at a whole new project right now, and we haven't even put back what we've lost already. So, I mean, it's a significant investment. I I think it's great, project. I just worry about the money, because I'd like to get these other facilities back online before we start a new project. And I know we're waiting for FEMA dollars, and I disagree on waiting. I think we should be moving forward.
Rob?
Refresh my memory. I know when beach and shoreline items come up, we typically have a once-a-year beach and shoreline reviews. How do these items that are not associated with beach or shoreline come through typically? I don't remember seeing a lot of these over the years.
I would say we don't have a lot of them, and they're all one-offs. I mean, we don't have a process for those, right? I mean, so they come just like this, to a regular TDC meeting for consideration. But it doesn't, as you know, it doesn't happen very often, so.
Councilmember.
I was just going to say, we, in the Cape, we're paying particular attention to adaptive playgrounds and incorporating them in a couple of our park redesigns that we have going on right now and some of the new parks that we have coming in. And so I think, countywide, I think if word gets out, if you will, and we can market the fact that we're, an ADA sensitive, I would absolutely agree that, people with special needs, children, even adults, they'll pay the price to go to a place that is prepared to receive them. And I think that the more people would get involved, knowing that there were places where they could go. So those people in Minnesota, in Wisconsin, in Ohio, if they knew that there was a lot to do with their challenged family members, they would flock here.
Brian?
So I think it's a very sensitive topic, right? Because everybody wants to do everything for anybody that's got a disability. We all feel the need and the want to have to do that. As I sit on the board of the Tourism Development Council and I think about spending money towards developing tourism for the area, I think that having something like this absolutely could have benefits to draw in events, but how big are those events that come in, and do they justify, as to Bill's point, $1 million out of tourism development? That's a big number, and $1 million. So I guess my question back to you is, as I look at the plan, so you have 3.5 million total project, 2.5 million in county match, in county dollars coming into it, right? So you need another $1 million. Well, as we look at what that 3.5 is predicated on, if it's these drawings, we have a 40 by 80 building with concessions, locker rooms, office space, restrooms. We have covered seating. We don't even have covered seating in our parks for Perfect Game or any other baseball that's out there. Are there things that you can look at in this project that get it closer to match fitting within the county match, that we don't need $1 million from tourism development, but we can still get the project done?
We can certainly look at that. We can get with the team and revisit this and take a look at it.
I would recommend, personally, I would recommend just looking at that and seeing if we can still find a way to accommodate it, because I think it's wonderful, but without having to take $1 million out of the TDC dollars to.
Kristen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's all about return on the investment, and we just do a needs assessment study and look at other facilities, see what's missing, run the numbers, and if it's going to produce more than $1 million and within a certain amount of time, it's a worthy investment. It's just like stock market. It's you play by the paint by the numbers.
Any other discussion?
One other point. If it's a 3-year project, I mean, why don't we let them do the design first? And based on what Brian's talking about is, to me, scaled down to as little as, make it functional, but keep it sort of bare bones, and then later on, it could be added on to later on. So I would suggest that, we go to design first and then come and see what we're looking at. Just a thought.
The full funding of design from TDC or a match?
For a match, I mean, we could go in for half of that, let the county manage the other half for design, and then see what they come back with. I don't know how the county looks at it.
Any other discussion?
Have we done a proof of concept? I mean, these are in other areas. Have you reached out to the other areas to find out how it works for them and how it?
I think, Jeff, I think you have, right? Or someone has spoken to another agency that has a adaptive baseball field, right?
We talked to the Miracle League folks in Arizona when we were there a number of years ago, and it was a mix between local use and tourism. We didn't get dollars as far as how much bed tax is being generated from it or things like that. So we looked at it as a community asset that can generate tourism, like boardwalks and bathrooms and stuff like that. We spend money on those, and both citizens and tourists use them. And so quick answer is no, Mac. We didn't do a return on investment on this project, but we do know that it has potential to generate tourism.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Are there any motions to be entertained?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve the request. I think that when you work with the Twins and you work with the Red Sox, this really has a potential to do something. I think you could certainly look at, to your point, how can you scale it down or spread it out if it's going to take over 3 years, and maybe that's part of the request, that $1 million gets funded over the life of the project, not necessarily in 1 year. I don't know how you guys are going about it or how the county's going to match it, but maybe if you could spread out that money over the duration of the project, that would make the most sense.
So let me just understand the motion.
Yeah, I made a motion before I thought it all through, put it that way. Well, first let me ask, is that something that you guys could do, if that was the motion to spread the ask out over the next 2 years or 3 years, whatever it's going to take to get you through the design and construction phases? Is that something that's doable working with the county?
I think that's doable, yes, absolutely.
Then that would be my motion, is to spread this out over the duration of the design and construction of the process to alleviate some of the upfront money that the TDC would have to fund.
So just to be clear on your motion, your motion is to fund the project as presented, but spread over the length of the 3 years.
3 years, yes.
I have a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I do. I think I would fund just for design at this point. I would not, because the design could drive $1 million lower if the design is low. That's what I would fund. Because we got to get the design to see what the project is.
I agree with Tony, and in that, doing a ROI, I think, also at the same time.
Would you be willing to fund the 275?
I would have, well, I think it should be a match, but whatever type of match, I think the county should be in part of it, and TDC should be in part of it for the design.
And would we recommend in the design for them to be as bare bones as they could to get it open, because then you can do a better ROI on it with a lower number?
That would be my suggestion.
So right now, we have a motion on the floor to fund the $1 million over 3 years that I have a second on. And we've had that discussion. We can vote on that and then see where that goes if we need a second motion to continue. All in favor of funding the $1 million over a 3-year period, say aye. All opposed? Nay. I got 3, 2, because we are non-voting, right?
Yep.
So.
You might have to have hands.
Oh, we might have to do a hand vote here.
Sorry.
So the motion on the floor. Well, there is no second motion at this time. There's only one motion. If the first motion fails, we can entertain a second motion.
No on the very vague first motion of $1 million over 3 years.
Okay, so I have 4-2 on that, or 2-4, and that first motion fails. I'll entertain a second motion.
You want to make it? I would make a motion to approve a 50/50 match for the design and a return on investment to be done and brought back, to the TDC.
Do we know that amount? What's that amount?
Well, the design 50/50 would be half of the 275.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we now have a motion and a second on a motion to approve a 50% match of the 275 design fee and to ask for an ROI to be completed before funding the rest. Is that the motion is that
correct?
Did I state it right? And that's the second. All in favor? Discussion, I'm sorry, discussion.
I just want to, I'm glad it's going to be moving forward. I would like to know if we're going to do this in the design phase, to talk about doing it in phases, how would that look in the overall total cost of it? Usually when you're doing a project, when a company is mobilized is when you get your best deal. So if you're going to do part of it and then they've got to remobilize to do something at a different time, is it going to cost more in the long run to do it that way, or would it be the same, or would it be less if you piece it out? It doesn't have to be concrete information, but at least a general idea of what it would be, I think, would be some information that would be helpful once you get the design.
Yeah, I think the design is going to tell what the project is. If you do it as bare bones, then obviously you should do it all at once to get it over. And then later on, if they want, this is my opinion, they want to come back for funding to do something else, but that's a different part of the
I understand what you're saying. Okay.
That's how I see it.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if you were talking about do the field and then you do the stands another time and then do bathrooms another time, or what you were.
So the motion we have on the floor is to approve a 50% funding of the $275,000 design fee with a match from the county and to ask for an ROI to be produced on the rest of the project. Is that correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
On to new business. April. You're trying to test me.
Yes, we are. We are trying to test.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, I'm April Green, your fiscal manager. I'm here today to do an overview of the Q1 budget for the VCB operating, beach and shoreline operating, and the sports development business units. I know we have had a full agenda today. So to save time, I'd like to just tell you that the three budgets are pacing well, right on track. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have about the budgets that were presented to you in your slides. Okay, if there are no questions, I respectfully request a motion from council to accept the budget reports as presented.
I'll move. Go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, April.
We usually just do one.
I just had just a quick question. Are we fully staffed, or do you still have open?
I have a couple of open positions, but we're
Close to full?
Happy to share where we are with that.
No, I was just.
Send an email just to give you an update if you'd like.
No, I was just curious.
Yes, good morning. Allison Geeson, Program Coordinator. Each year, the TDC allocates funds for the Invention Attractions Marketing Program. Attached to the memo are allocations approved for this current fiscal year. Each year, the TDC appoints 3 to 5 members to serve on the marketing subcommittee to review the requests for both funding programs. While you do not need to be a voting member to serve on the subcommittee, you will need to be available for the Events Marketing Review Workshop that is scheduled to take place following the TDC meeting in June. Committee members will receive online access to review the events marketing request online in May, and there are approximately 10 requests. The Attractions Marketing Review Workshop will be scheduled early August, and a final date will be set as soon as the subcommittee has been formed. Requests will be available online for review in July, and there are approximately 35 requests. Both funding programs requests will be considered at the August TDC meeting for discussion and recommendations for fiscal year 26. The guidelines for both the programs are on the Lee VCB website. Are there any members who would like to serve on the subcommittee this year? As Council Member Holly Smith did say that she would like to serve before she left. So I just need a motion to see who would appoint the members to serve on the marketing subcommittee for the upcoming year.
I served last year. I'd be happy to serve again if it doesn't happen when I'm out of town. I'm going to be out of town a week during June.
June
Okay.
12th is the date.
June 12th?
June 12th.
June 12th, yeah, and another one in early August for the review. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
And I'll serve again.
Thank you. Anyone
Pam's
else?
not here, but she
Pam stepped out of the room.
Pam had to leave, so she did not give me if she was going to do this or not.
Okay.
So I have 3 members that have agreed to serve on that.
Do we need more?
We need 3 to 5. So we have the 3.
I'll be more than happy to join.
Thank you.
You, Bill?
Okay, you go.
Yeah, please. So we have 4 members now. Holly, Councilmember Stanky, Bill Wachulis, myself. Any others? I'll entertain a motion, make that happen. Pam's usually, she has been, but she stepped out of the room.
That's it then. She's on it. You step out of the room.
Well, I think she likes being on it too, so I would motion for her to be on it, and if she declines, then yeah, that's fine.
All right, so we have five members, thank you. Don't leave early. So Pam Cron, Bill Wachulis, Bill Stanky, myself, and Holly Smith. And I will entertain that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have for council information.
Lots of interesting tidbits in your packet for you. I won't belabor any of them.
Thank you. TDC member items. We'll start with Mayor Dan.
Just a couple things. We got Shrimp Fest coming up March 8th and 9th. It's always our biggest weekend on the island. Followed by March 15th, the St. Patty's Day Parade will be back on the south end of the island. So it's going to be on Saturday, not on the actual day for various reasons. Also, the beach renourishment, just an update on that. We're moving along pretty good. It's pretty much past all the resorts now. They've moved to the south end of the island to try to get that done before the bird nesting season. But we've been told they're still on track to be done before the start of turtle season. So hopefully come May, we'll be completely done, and we'll see that big black pipe out of the way, and at least one portion of the Royal Navy be moved out of there. So we're looking forward to that. If you haven't had a chance to come down and check out the beach, please do. It's really spectacular to see what it looks like when it's done.
All right, thank you. Agile?
I think some of you will be interested in this. Bonita Springs is not designated as a critical erosion area, which is strange. It's a different topic. So as City Council, we decided to go ahead and pre-fund monies for the refurbishment of the beach. We lost between 36 and 38 feet of beach. It's a couple of $1 million. So we're going to put our hands in, hoping that we're going to get that money back. But this county has been phenomenal. County staff working with ours. We're going to piggyback on the project because the company's already there, so it'll save tax dollars and it'll move up the schedule. So I think that's good news for all of you, and especially Bob, you'll appreciate the fact the beach is coming back. Number two is our downtown, which is really moving along. I'd encourage you all to come to downtown Bonita Springs. If you haven't been there in 6 months, you really won't recognize what it looks like. But we have a bioreactor parking lot for treating water that comes in and out of the Imperial River. So we're now going to create a second parking lot using the bioreactor concept, so the water gets cleaned under the parking lot, but it'll create an additional 96 to 98 parking spaces at downtown Bonita Springs that are free. So parking is not a problem in our downtown and will not be for the foreseeable future. And finally, Big Grin, if you haven't been down there, Sugar Shack is not only open, but they're doing great. And they were gracious enough, besides the grand opening events, you can tell I was in Tallahassee for a day, can't you? I can't speak. But they hosted over 350 first responders for a free night, and very well attended. Police officers and firemen and free beer. It's always a good thing. But they're turning into great partners. But after 5 years, Sugar Shack is there, and downtown looks great.
Thank you. Bill?
Back in December, we went over to London for our hurricane insurance and, did a whole presentation to them. We just, our renewals in March, and we just got notice that our hurricane insurance is going down 25%. So I think you're going to start seeing that with everybody's hurricane insurance actually starting to decline and seeing relief. I mean, they didn't see the large impacts with Helene and Milton that everybody was worried about. So it's a positive thing. We get some relief.
Great news. Thank you. Jeff? Robert? Christine? Brian?
I would just second Nigel's comments. Been in Coconut Point now for 10-plus years, and downtown Bonita Springs never looked better than it did, and that shack, it's got a line a mile long to get in it every night. So go down and see it. So go down and see it.
Thanks. Yeah, and event after event after event. I mean, if you watch the calendar, go to our Facebook page. We're doing all we can to attract everybody to the area. Just finished our Art Fest, massive, looking at over 100,000 people that came to the event over 2 days. We've got our Burning Owl Festival coming up February 22nd, concert in the park. Our new pickleball facility is going to have the PPA tour there. We're expecting massive amounts of people for that. They'll be erecting a grandstand there, bring it in for the tournament and tear it down after the fact. Music and Arts Fusion Walk coming March 15th. And we're just starting to advertise the amount of biking potential, pedal biking potential we have in the city, where we've got 90-plus miles of interconnected bike routes. There's 8 different dedicated bike routes, 49-mile circular route around the city perimeter. So trying to attract on a variety of bases. We've got the new park that will open soon that will have camping in the area. So everything we can to attract people to the area. Things are moving. There's a lot of positive vibe about that. And we thank you for all the support that the TDC gives us for the parks development that we've been doing.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, March the 15th in Estero, it's a busy day, I guess, in all communities. We have another Estero Fest planned. It's a 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock event, 5 live entertainment acts. Estero's own Ben Allen will be the feature act later in the evening. Beer and wine garden, celebration of the 10th anniversary of the Village of Estero's Incorporation. Invite all of you to come. That it will be at the park in Estero.
Thank you. Rob?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
And our author, Mr. Lappy.
No surprises, but just CEDD, I guess, signed into June, bringing the gardens in and dredging for the future years, which will happen in July at Captiva. And in April, there'll be a quiz on the book. We're all set.
Perfect.
Can we get our book signed?
We'll get
are you doing a signing?
We're doing a signing afterwards? Perfect. Thank you. Next meeting will be held on Thursday, April 10th in this room at 9 a.m. There is no March meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So ordered. We're adjourned.